His website is petergreenberg.com, and he's joining us right now from the Silver Sea Silver Origin off the coast of the Galapagos Islands. Buenos dias, Peter.
And buenos dias to you, Manny. It's an amazing day here off the coast of Ecuador in the Pacific Ocean. And I should tell you, we're over here doing one of my television specials on responsible tourism, because most people don't realize that since 1959, the entire Galapagos Islands has been a protected marine reserve, and they have the most amazingly promising restrictions on growth and arrivals that has been able to preserve this region for almost 60 years.
Yeah, and we've talked quite a bit over the last few months about the problems with over-tourism in other parts of the world, popular destinations. You're not seeing that there because they control it so much to keep that pristine environment, right?
They do. In fact, I'm on a cruise ship right now, but it's a very specifically designed cruise ship, only 100 passengers. You cannot have any more than 100 passengers on any ship in the Galapagos.
Wow.
No garbage in, no garbage out. In fact, you're not even allowed to bring anything ashore, only 16 people at a time, and you're seeing the famous wildlife here, the most unique wildlife you'll ever see in the world, the same way that Charles Darwin saw it hundreds of years ago.
Well, I look forward to seeing that latest Travel Detective special, and I hope you and your lovely better half post some stuff on social media so I can check it out as well. The traditional end of summer is upon us, Labor Day holiday underway. Planes, trains, automobiles already full, I imagine.
Yes, except a lot of people got smart. They left earlier than today. Today's not going to be a good day at the TSA, I can tell you that. But they were able to stagger their departures. The real challenge is going to be Monday, when everybody comes back, because so many schools are starting. Mm-hmm. That's number one. But number two, a very interesting development, Manny. While numbers this year are up 9% over last year, airfares are now starting to drop because demand is dropping. Every 4 years when we have a national election, people tend to not travel the last couple of months of the year. It's not a blue issue or a red issue. It's just an uncertainty issue. That's holding true here. Plus, so many people now got their credit card bills for all the travel they did this year. And since only 51% of us pay their bills in full every month, you can imagine what those balances are looking like. And people are saying, you know what, I think I'm going to defer my travel any further until 2025. So if you've been a good boy and you paid your bills in full, it's about to be a buyer's market. You're going to see airfare sales starting next week that we've not seen in a long, long time.
So fare wars breaking out, does that include travel over the holidays, or will those always be higher just because of demand?
Yeah, the Thanksgiving period being the exception. But other than that, you're going to see fares plummet. Look, right there in your backyard, Spirit has already furloughed 240 pilots. They've deferred delivery on all their new planes because nobody can compete on price anymore, since all the airlines are dropping their fares.
Yeah.
So you're going to see Delta, American, United, as well as Spirit and Frontier drop airfares to very low levels between now and the end of the year.
Couple more minutes here with Peter Greenberg, 610 WIOD travel editor. Peter, we talked about this last week, but I noticed the story has gotten even more traction in the last few days. The fact that Visit Florida, the state's travel marketing arm, has removed its LGBTQ section from their website, seemingly not wanting people to think that we're a gay-friendly, gay-tolerant, destination. Is that becoming an issue in the travel industry?
Already has been. We've seen it happen in many other states, and it doesn't end well when you start removing those websites, because it's not a question of being gay-friendly. It's a question of the perception of being gay-unfriendly. And people tend to vote with their wallets. So we haven't seen an immediate impact yet, but long-term, not a good idea.
A couple of other things for you. United Airlines flight attendants, I'm reading, moving closer to going on strike. What does that mean? What happens if they do?
Well, in the short term, it doesn't mean anything. I'll tell you why. Because when it comes to transportation workers, federal law is very specific. They can call to authorize a strike, which is what they've just voted for. That just gives the union the opportunity to call one after they go through certain steps. Right now, they're in mediation. If mediation doesn't work, they then have a 30-day cooling off period that's followed by arbitration. And if that doesn't work, they can call a strike. But, Manny, history indicates that if they do call a strike, there's another tool in the arsenal. The president can use an executive order to declare it an emergency and order them back to work. This has happened before. President Clinton did it back in the 90s with American Airlines pilots that wanted to strike. So it'll be a long time before there's a real strike here. But remember, we're going to the fourth quarter where it's not a lot of busy travel.
Yeah.
So if the flight attendants really want to have an impact, If they're going to call a strike, how about the Wednesday before Thanksgiving?
That would not be good. Speaking of, I saw a headline that more and more airports are spending on upgrades because they predict that in the next 15 years, airline travel is expected to double from our pre-pandemic levels. How is that in any way going to be sustainable?
Well, it can be sustainable if they plan ahead. The problem is by the time they finish building an airport, it's already out of date.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced, Manny, and please disagree with me if you think so. I believe that the people who design airports have never flown. I believe that the people who design airports have never actually walked through one. You know, if you're going from Terminal A to Terminal E in Miami, you're going to get your steps in.
Right. Yeah.
And the thing is, the same is true at Dallas-Fort Worth. The same is true at O'Hare. They've got to come up with a better system. And the problem is the airport model doesn't work financially because they've got to generate revenue.
Yeah.
They just redid LaGuardia Airport. It's a gleaming, bright, shiny, obstructed airport. Why? They don't even put in people movers there. Why? Because they don't want you to bypass the retail.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's you're doing a long march inside a new airport. Not a good idea.
The people who build airports are the same ones that build our roads. Doesn't seem like they ever drive on them. Last thing for you. There have been numerous lists over the last few years about the best countries to retire in, countries where American expats are relocating to. And lately, Portugal seems to be on top of many of those lists. I spent spring break there, and I was fascinated by the country. I know you were there a few weeks ago. What is it about Portugal that is luring so many Americans, Peter?
It's about 6 different things. Number one, it's the kingdom of a dead empire, so they're not going to attack anybody. Number two, they're affordable. Number three, the food is great. Number four, the healthcare is great. And number five, they have a program, which they're starting to ease back on now, but a number of other countries are doing it, called the Golden Passport, that if you invest a certain amount of money in real estate or savings, you get to have a Portuguese residence, which comes in very, very handy. So on all those levels, Portugal becomes very, very attractive.
And one of the cleanest countries I've ever been in, Peter.
Absolutely.
Peter Greenberg, 610 WIOD travel editor. His website where you can sign up for his travel newsletter is petergreenberg.com. Travel safely. Enjoy the Galapagos, Peter. We'll talk next week.
You got it, Manny.
All right. Natalie has the news coming up.